Was there any other rugby pieces? There was a few. Neil Francis got a mention in the meeting room briefly.
Can I say something before the Neil Francis piece that Paul wants to speak on? The Neil Francis piece comes with the picture, and there aren't very many better pictures in the Sunday newspapers today of that, and then you can tell that that's Joe Schmidt, and it's just a great picture, but no byline on the picture. And I think that's tremendously sad that someone has taken such a good picture, the paper use it and don't put their byline on it. Now you want to talk about Frano.
Neil Francis.
For people on the radio, by the way, the picture is the profile of Joe Schmidt. The light is behind him, you can't see his face, so you just recognise the profile anywhere. So that's the picture for people who didn't see it.
So if you look at Neil's piece, if you take the last third of it, with the paragraph that starts, if we look at the scale of success and the pitch where the national side are at the moment, outside of Joe Schmidt's influence, the Heineken Cup was the biggest single factor in dragging rugby union in this country into a hugely supported sport with mass appeal. Now, if you read the piece from there to the end, it's quite good and makes some very good points, very coherent points. Now, if you start at the very start, as I did, and most people will, you will check the byline immediately to see if it wasn't written by Ross O'Carroll Kelly, because a lot of it is really objectionable and absolute rubbish. My daughter Evelyn was on holidays with us a couple of years ago in Portugal, and she got chatting to a group of boys, and they were asking her where she was from and what school she goes to. Now, these were rugby lads, Southsiders, and for some reason that seems to matter a huge amount to these people, what school you go to and where you're from. And when Evelyn told these fellas, or told this fellow in particular, that she'd gone to school in Loreto and Balbriggan, his response was, "Mummy wouldn't approve." Okay? Now, what this piece smacks of is mummy wouldn't approve, and that class bullshit that a lot of people in this country just cannot abide. As an example, the piece starts with Neil going to a West Ham game. I'm not sure when this was, obviously a couple of years ago. And he comes out of the game and
late 80s,
and they're killing each other. And he's in the tube station down Green Street, and he's lucky to get out there without getting stabbed, basically. Now, I'm not sure what the point of that is, except that making a point that these football fans are a different class. Now, listen, West Ham fans are a different class to any of them and Millwall. But anyway, I'm not quite sure where he's going. Well, we get a sense of it then. When he introduces us to Declan Rice at West Ham. Every week I see all of our national newspapers give acres of space, acres of room to this young boy called Declan Rice of West Ham, a peripheral figure to most people on this island, but to some it seems like he's the Messiah. The boy Rice was born in Kingston upon Thames. Anyway, he gives a sense of Rice and where he's from, and the fact that he's been encouraged to throw his allegiance in with the national team. And Jesus, I don't know what it's about. Imagine the scene when the boy Rice, after numerous unanswered calls from Mick McCarthy and Robbie Keane, gets a call from his mother. There is a gruff man from Crumlin and an even gruffer man from Barnsley, and they want to talk to you about playing for, the island of Ireland. Now, what is this? What is he saying here? This is rugby country. We are a superior class. These football gurriers,
I think it leads on from an argument that Neil has been having about the national sport, and I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to try and compare the two sports. And at a time when Neil was at his peak in sport and his prowess was at his, magnificent. I was competing as well, and I had this chip on my shoulder about the soccer team too. I didn't like the soccer team. I thought that they were vulture-like in their extraction of any kind of sponsorship that lay around Ireland, and I can understand this. But I've grown up now. I'm over it. But to the Ross O'Carroll Kelly thing, that's a little bit cruel. But
well, it's not cruel. It's not cruel. It's not cruel at all. Let me give you a prime example why it's not cruel. Declan Rice is the boy Rice. Who else? There's another boy in here somewhere. There's another footballer he calls the boy. But Jacob Stockdale is not the boy Stockdale. He's Jacob Stockdale. Now that is straight out of Ross O'Carroll Kelly. I'm sorry. Just to lighten it a little bit for the moment, can I wish Presbury, my old alma mater, who are playing in the Leinster School Senior Cup tomorrow, the best of luck. And I won't mention the school that they're playing against because I'd be fearful that I'd have a backlash. And the school that they're playing against, I wish them good luck, but not as much luck as I wish Presbury. Sorry, here it is. The other boy is the boy Jack Grealish. The FEI humiliated themselves over the boy Jack Grealish, and to compound that error, they have spent the last year trying to tempt another English boy into playing for Ireland. Grealish has already declared for England, and Rice will assuredly do the same, both knowing they will never even get close to the England squad. In this instance, this is not about the better offer or the more attractive prospect. It is about avoiding the least attractive offer, the prospect of playing for the Republic of Ireland. It is patently obvious that neither has any real interest in playing in green, and the Irish governing body begging them to reconsider could only be considered a humiliation if it had any sense of self-worth. Well, I'm sorry.
Some people would agree with that.
Well, some people. Okay, well, he's not in a great position to agree with it, given we've got a South African and a Samoan.
I was just going to say
playing for the great rugby team.
Yeah, the rugby team do the same thing. But people would agree that going begging to Declan Rice is the wrong thing to do. Now, begging is the wrong word to use. I don't think they are.
Yeah.
They've certainly left the door open for him.
Yeah, sure.
He's a decline of Irish soccer contrasts markedly with the rise of pro rugby. That's, I mean, his overall point, because it's probably hard when people haven't read it, is that there was a time in the 90s when rugby was the poor relation, and now he says it's totally spun around and football's the poor relation and rugby has never been better. That's the overall point he's making.
But my point, to counteract Neil's point in his piece, is that the Irish soccer team are always on the verge of or do qualify for the major tournaments. And if the Irish soccer team qualify for the Euros, the whole country again will get behind them. And it's not going to be the same if Ireland, the Irish rugby team, make the semi-final of the World Cup. You won't see that same euphoria that we witnessed before. Now it's different times and
sure.
people express themselves differently. Rather than going into O'Connell Street and waving a flag, you just tweet. So it's a different thing. But I think because of the fact that you cover all sports and both sports, I think that how you get riled up by this won't rile up the people that pick up the paper every week to read Neil Francis. That is fodder for them, and they will read this and they'll kind of nod and they won't pay much attention. They won't get angered in the same way as you get angered. If you're a soccer-loving person and you pick up Neil Francis, Declan Lynch should be at home there going. And I'm sure he'd be annoyed that Frano is saying stuff like this. But you're different. I can read this piece and just, laugh at it.
Players on the national side are very visible and comport themselves, this is the rugby players, and comport themselves in a humble and down-to-earth fashion. They are polite, articulate and engaging. Characteristics which not only have gone out unnoticed in the general population, but also by corporate Ireland. We would like to ally ourselves, our products and our services with these particular athletes and this particular sports. Winning is everything. Winning with style and grace is the cherry on top.
I absolutely agree with you that is an unfair thing to say, that because I have encountered an awful lot of the Irish soccer team and they are superb professionals. They are wonderful people.
Right.
They behave in the exact same way, but they just aren't as public in because they're not here. They don't live in Dublin. That's and nor could they. They cannot eke out a living here in Dublin. They eke out their living over in the UK. I have to say, the most impressive sportsman I've met in the most recent years is Seamus Coleman, and you won't get a more impressive person. You could look all over the world. He's a singularly most impressive man that I met in difficult circumstances, and he carried himself with the graciousness that you would expect. And it's unfair of Frano to say that the soccer players don't do that. I've met plenty of rugby players who are equally as impressive. but they're all impressive. I think Frano needs to go and meet this Irish, the Irish team and find out.
Why can we not celebrate the rugby team? Why is it not enough to celebrate the rugby team without saying we're the greatest, we're number one now?
I don't know is the honest answer. And I think it comes from the years, and I've said it myself, I just said it, that I had a chip on my shoulder about the soccer team during the 90s as well. I didn't like them. I thought, and I gave my reasons for not liking them, but now I've gotten over it, and maybe this is going to be cathartic for Neil, that he will now say, okay, maybe I should let this go.